answers.
Okay.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it would be helpful because then I can edit my voice out, because actually I think me taking up radio time is not actually constructive in this conversation. I want to hear what you have to say. So what I'm going to do is kind of start off with your introduction, start off with how you got started in this, where it came from, how you've structured Pride, how Pride differs in terms of its kind of management and structure to other Prides in other parts of the world, and where that comes from. Because it's not centred on a protest or on a parade. It's a very different form of Pride. So if we could talk about that. And then we can go into a little bit about what happened this year and what will happen next. But I want it to, like, it's designed to be quite an intimate medium. So, you know, it's I want to, like, the empathy that you showed me when you were talking to Nadine and the opening night. Remember my friend Nadine, her father had just died.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like being in the public eye, people don't get to see that kind of thing. And it would be nice to draw some of that out a little bit. Because I know, like, part of being in your position, you have to talk like a politician half the time, right?
Most of the time.
Yeah. So if we can kind of talk on a more kind of personal level, that would be really nice. It's up to you, like, where your boundaries are, but...
It's your project, and we did not initiate this project to stop it at the first complication. And independently of the fact of being...
Is that right if I start recording?
Huh?
I'm just going to start recording.
Oh, it's not... No. It's good.
Okay.
And if there is anything that... I can't tell you this is off the record, but are we live now?
Oh, I'm recording, but you want me to turn it off?
No, let's be...
Okay.
We're recording now?
Yeah.
Why Pride? Well... Initially, I used to be very critical of prides. I used to read articles about Pride and see videos. And I used to say to myself, oh my God, this parade is so polluting, quite a lot of waste. I never understood why it was like this. Don't take me wrong, it's not that I was upset seeing hunks and pretty guys in tiny shorts, absolutely not. But, you know, maybe the articles that I used to read were articles that were criticizing a lot prides and the parades in particular. If I remember well, it was in 2016, it was in August 2016. I was abroad with my ex, and there was the Euro Pride taking place in Amsterdam. The parade was massive. It took place on the canals, all these boats, all these entertainment floating platforms with people standing on the side cheering and being so excited about all what was happening. People at their windows, at their balconies, old people, young people, families, couples, groups of people. It was quite intense. And I'm not sure if I've ever been in a place where I saw so many people at once. It was impressive. We were moving from a point to another. I had a bottle of water. And then we were stopped by an old lady, probably in her 70s. She asked us where we got the bottle of water from. So I said, we bought it earlier from a shop, please have it. She said, no, it's not for me, it's for my dog. She had a small bichon dog. And we were like, yeah, okay. So I came closer to the dog, opened my hand, and poured water in my hand, and the dog started drinking. And the lady was very happy and very grateful. And then she asked us if we were gay. And we said yes. And then she says, "Oh, I'm so happy I'm gay too. And when I was your age, I never dreamt there would be a day like this one, where everybody would be celebrating gay people and lesbian people and transgender people and bisexual people." It was quite touching. And then she continued and she said, "Guys, don't give up. Don't think that we have it all. Everything is very fragile. We are family. We need to move forward." That shook me. And now, as I'm telling you this, I still have goosebumps. She went in her direction and we continued our day. After Amsterdam, we went to Prague, and there was the Prague Pride. A different dynamic, a different way of the parade taking place. There we were walking. While in Amsterdam, we were just standing and cheering. We were walking with all the people who were there. And I remember we were joined by a straight couple of ours. The couple was more excited than us to be in this Pride parade. We walked and it was fun because, quite a lot of people, and we ended up bumping into people we had previously met in clubs or in a bar or something. So it was quite a funny something. It was quite impressive. After the parade, late afternoon, my ex and I were seated in this restaurant in Prague. I remember he was on his phone. I look at him. I tell him, there will be a gay pride taking place in Beirut in a few months. And then he looks at me, he's like, "Really? This is amazing. You should be part of it." I'm like, "Oh, yes, I am part of it." And then he says, "But why didn't you tell me before? Tell me more." I said, "Well, you're officially the first person to know about it, because I just made up my mind that there would be a pride in Beirut." He said, "Wow, so it's going to be like the Beirut Pride." He said, "I'm not sure. Shall we call it Lebanon Pride, the Arab Pride, the Oriental Pride, the Levant Pride? What is it exactly?" And then we started discussing. We're not going to use the word Levant. We're not going to use the word Arab. And I remember that I was not going to use the word Lebanon Pride, because we need to be very much site-specific. And we live in Beirut, and let us not have the pretension that we can cater to other towns and other places where we are not living. Therefore, Beirut Pride. A few days later, we came back to Lebanon, and my mind never stopped working and thinking about this Beirut Pride. What is it about? What does it want to say? What would its scope of work be? One evening, I was going back home, and ideas were literally very intense in my brain. So I take my phone, put on the recorder, and I was recording myself talk about what Pride in Beirut is going to be. Or at least how I was viewing it, considering it, thinking of it. Something told me that I had to buy a domain name. I go online, and beirutpride.org was available. .com was available. .everything was available. So I bought it immediately. I bought them immediately. And then I'm like, okay, Now let's see what we're going to do with the social media, because definitely somebody has already taken the username Beirut Pride. I go on Facebook, it was available. I take it immediately. I go on Twitter, it's available. Instagram, available. I'm like, okay, now I will take them all. Because this is, like, they are here. They are out there. So everything, so the Facebook page was done. Of course, it was not published. Instagram was there. No statement, nothing on it, no text, no picture, nothing. Twitter, same thing. And from August till March, I was working in my brains, thinking about Beirut Pride, reading a lot about prides in general, LGBT matters in general, in the world, in the region, in Lebanon. It's a thing, you being gay, and it's a totally different thing, you initiating a platform with the name Beirut Pride. And we know that this is very big. I was thinking, who would the partners be? What we would be saying? What we would be wanting to do to change? What would our scope of work be? Before I even do Beirut Pride, I am a theater maker. I've been a theater maker since I was 10 years old. So I've been practicing theater for 19 years now. Not only as an actor, but I did technical theater, I did design for theater, I studied this, I worked in communication, I worked in marketing for cultural events, I worked on programming, whether it is private programming for a small platform or a public programming for an initiative between two governments that is taking place over 4 years. And I teach how to design events, how to organize, produce, plan an event. And I sit on the steering committee of this postgraduate program. So there was no amateurism in the approach. The LGBT fight in Lebanon has been open for quite a time. And people have been trying to do things, to move forward, to change matters. Sometimes with some success. Some other times they were hindered by some happenings or some specific relations or dynamics. But I never understood why the evolution of this file has been so slow. I reached out to many people I know who work in NGOs, who hold some positions in these NGOs. And I realized that we are on a very different wave. I also realized that all the initiatives of these LGBT groups in Lebanon had the same audience, the same people attending the same happenings, the same people touring on all the events of all these NGOs, and most events would take place around International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia, which is the 17th of May. And the positioning of Beirut Pride that started in August 2016 and was released in May 2017, so it took quite a lot of time of thinking, reflection, and framing. It was clear that Beirut Pride is a collaborative platform. It is not an NGO. In Lebanon, when you want to set up an NGO, this is done for two reasons. First, for you to have the possibility of opening a bank account. And the second, for you to be able of signing legal contracts in the name of this NGO. Beirut Pride is not a contract. It is not a check. And there would be no contract signed in the name of Beirut Pride and no paycheck in the name of Beirut Pride. Because the symbolism behind Beirut Pride is way bigger, more intense than this. Collaborative platform, which means it brings people from different walks of life, different professions, different ages, different social groups, different interests. People who want to make a change, never found themselves in the work of other LGBT groups, and who have the possibility to say something, to express something. I come from the creative industries. All the people around me sometimes supported initiatives of NGOs because they felt that it is a duty or a responsibility or something that we should do. But that was it. There was never this passion, this eagerness to do something, to get something done. I reached out to them at first, saying, guys, there would be a Beirut Pride. Oh yeah, amazing. How can we help? What can we do? Blah, blah, blah. Asking the regular traditional questions. And then what happened is that people really came together with much excitement to get things done. And here, it was clear that we were reaching out to groups of people who never properly felt much concerned or much sensitive to these happenings and to these LGBT work. What would Beirut Pride want to say? It was obvious that the first thing we wanted to do was to take a stance against hate, to take a stance against discrimination that are expressed toward people who are LGBTQ. How would we express our stance against this hate and discrimination? Is it by going down the street, holding a banner, yelling, shouting, screaming? Or is it by doing other forms of counter-reaction? What we lack in Lebanon is vision and reflection. We always think after the problem happens. We never anticipate this problem. We never anticipate this problem. We never think of security protocols until there is a problem. And when the problem hits, we have never thought of what to do to contain risks and harm. When you want to resist, when you want to change something, there are two main ways. The first way would be for you to go down the street, take some stones, throw them at people, do what you would call a revolution. The other way of changing things is to perform consent, get inside what's happening, and change from within. We still have the chance to be dealing with human beings, not with robots and machines. We still have the chance that we have individuals that no matter what still have a little bit of empathy. And if you know how to speak to these people, things definitely change. Protests are quite sensational. It's always impressive to take part of a protest, to watch a protest on TV or on social media. There's quite an intensity in a protest. But a protest is a counter-reaction to something spontaneous, particular, that happened. It is not a counter-reaction to a situation that has been there for quite a time. A protest is built on a momentum. Something should happen, something should break, something that should just happen for a protest to take place. We've seen in the past years many protests in general taking place in the region, and also many LGBT protests that took place in Beirut in particular. When it comes to the LGBT protests that took place in Beirut, they very rarely built a momentum or managed to properly express things. Attendees were not very numerous, and there was no wave that these protests were riding. Therefore, the low number of attendees. There are many studies available online for free about the dynamics of protests. Why would people be participating in a protest? How long would they stay in the protest? And so on. We also have a few studies that were done in Lebanon about the psychology of people who attend a protest for the first time, for example. When you read these papers, and when you have basic knowledge of how the Lebanese society is structured when it comes to the intersection between religions, authorities, politics, economy, and other matters, you realize that in Lebanon, a protest is not an answer. You realize that in Lebanon, a revolution cannot be unless there is something massive that is fueling this protest. Revolutions are very fragile because they break something and they force something new. But at the end of the day, they are built on human beings. And we human beings are very passionate people, or at least we are moved by our emotions and passions. This is why, very often, revolutions flip and you go back to the former condition in much worse ways and conditions. When you want to change something on a public scale, in a country that its independence is fragile, when you want to change something in a country, when you want to change something,
Sorry, do you want to take a breather?
No, I want to take water.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you've been talking for 25 minutes straight.
When you want to make a change, a public change, when you're operating on a national level, when you are in a country which independence is very fragile, when your country is in a region that is constantly in movement, you know that what you are to do is work for an evolution, not for a revolution. Of course, a revolution is better because it's faster. But on a topic that is as sensitive for many people, like the LGBTIQ+ topic, we know that if anything goes wrong, people will regress, and there would be a terrible load of disappointment, especially for young people. And it's utterly forbidden that anybody initiate anything that would be disappointing people, especially young people. Saying no to hate, no discrimination, saying no in a peaceful way, without bashing, without intimidating, without shoving things down the throats of people who are not willing to listen or to hear. We needed a date for Beirut Pride to happen around. We need to understand that a platform or an event like the Beirut Pride is not to happen or to take place in one day. It should be a wider platform. It should be for quite a longer number of days. And our symbolic date was there. Why reinvent the wheel when we already have the 17th of May, that is International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia? Some people were against this idea. They said, everywhere the month of June is Pride month, so why Beirut Pride is not taking place in June? Other people said, but already there are some things that are usually done on International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Transphobia. We said, yeah, true. But organically, what we want to say, since we are addressing hate and discrimination, this is our date. We're utterly conscious of the communications and the marketing contribution of Beirut Pride to this day and to the LGBT fight in Lebanon in particular, and even in the region in general. And we knew that having Beirut Pride take place, we will be capable of taking things to another level, and we will also be giving LGBT groups an additional visibility. And this is what happened in 2017. So it's true that Beirut Pride was thought as a platform for many days with activities and happenings and many initiatives taking place. But behind Beirut Pride lays a 5-year plan for the LGBT file. A plan that operates on many levels, namely politics, media, religions, cultural and social, and the business world. In the second edition of Pride, we announced the corporate pledge, for example. This is a year-long initiative. It's a continuous initiative whereby a committee within Beirut Pride that brings people from the business world, whether they are identifying as LGBT or not, will be working with business, corporations, people from the professional world to implement policies of no hate, no discrimination against LGBT clients and employees. And this initiative is a collaborative work between the private and the public sectors in their many institutions and groups. Religions are paramount. The Lebanese civil war ended with a political agreement, Ta'if agreement, that put religions in the heart of the political life, the economical life, the life of any institution. In Lebanon, every religion considers itself to be a minority. So here we are operating in the logic of the minority. So everybody is a community by itself. And we all acknowledge that this is quite toxic. So a lot of people who identify as gay, for example, are practicing Christians, practicing Muslims, And most of them struggle between the religious heritage and culture and practice, and the emotions, desires, and sexual desires. We cannot just look at a gay man or a lesbian lady or a bisexual person or a transgender individual as being somebody only moved by their sexual desires. A friend of my sister had quite a rough time trying to conceal his Christian heritage and the Christian learnings he grew up on with his attraction to guys, with his sexual desire. He was about 19 or 20 years old when he used to regularly come hang out with my sister. And then we had a few discussions when he used to tell me about the many nights he prayed in his bed for God to deliver him from these desires, from these sexual love, or from this sexual attraction that he had towards other men. He said to me how much he prayed and how much he hated this God that never answered his prayers, and he never understood why he was given this sanction. I had a similar conversation with another friend of mine who is a Muslim lesbian. And it is not up to us to decide of how people are to live and deal with their religion. But we know very well that it is very important that the chapter that speaks sexuality and religions be properly and efficiently open. In this frame, we at Beirut Pride initiated many conversations with Muslim and Christian figures, religious men, to speak about this. If we want to explain in a few words what Beirut Pride says, we would say that if we were to quickly say what Beirut Pride is expressing, we would say that it is not because you think that the other might be different from you, then it is okay to harass, to bully, to aggress, to violent. A discourse like this one is a discourse that is accepted, embraced by all religions. Because not a single religion would want to say that they are providing a frame for these kinds of violence. The first goal is to neutralize negative conditioning, hate speech, and calls for violence. This is where things start. You don't need people to love you, to like you, to accept you. I never understand why you need to ask people to accept you. All what you need to do is make sure that these people are not aggressing you. You can be neutral. toward gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans. But you cannot attack and address. When it comes to politics, everybody says that it's very important to work on Article 534 and on the Lebanese Penal Code. Yeah, true. But to my knowledge, any legal change when it comes to laws is to be done in Parliament. And to my knowledge, members of Parliament are politicians, or at least they are affiliated to political parties. In other terms, every single law is a work of politics and political parties. Therefore, we open channels of communication with political parties. May 6, 2018 was the day of the general parliament elections in Lebanon. We spent more than 3 months working on our LGBTIQ+ political lobbying. We met every single political party, be it a traditional political party, being a newly established political party, and we met quite a lot of independent people who are running for parliament. Who are we? I was part of this people. We had former advisors to a prime minister or to a minister, people who used to be members of parliament, people who teach political communication. We had people who identify as gay or lesbian people. And we had a lot of straight people as well doing this with us. Because when you want to open up on something, you need to have your proper elements of language. You need to have your proper connections. You need to know how to reach out to people. You need to speak their language. And this is very important. It was very easy to have meetings with these figures. We clearly spoke LGBT. Most of them are utterly against hate and violence and criminalization of homosexual people. However, there are variants when it comes to the reception of other matters pertaining to LGBTIQ+ individuals. Some do not understand what it means to be a bisexual person. They think that a bisexual person is somebody who wants to eat from all platters. We have people who do not understand transgender. You have people who say, yes, no hate, no criminalization, but no marriage, no adoption. And you have people who would say, gay people, if we're going to start talking homosexuality, then everybody is going to become homosexual and so on. Interesting questions, and the answers were very clear. First, it's nobody's position and place to tell who is bisexual, who is not bisexual, and we can definitely not tell a bisexual person that they are lost, not knowing where they stand, or that they are gay but they want to pretend not to be gay, and so on. Second thing, it is still not our place to assess transgender individuals. People who speak about marriage equality are sometimes quite funny, because in Lebanon, we do not have a civil marriage. In other terms, the only possible marriage in Lebanon is a religious marriage, whether it is done in the church or in the presence of a Muslim religious authority. So in other terms, you do not have the legal frame for marriage equality. And when it comes to adoption, I can promise you that it's already such a hassle for a straight couple to contemplate adoption. People say that rights are indivisible. Yes, true, they are indivisible, but at the same time, things happen step by step. We cannot just take a full package, give it to someone and say, this will be implemented like this. You can do it if you are in power. And till now, no LGBT group managed to get anywhere near a person who is somehow in power. This very much hindered the evolution of LGBT matters in Lebanon. We're not here to blame people, to say what they did, what they did not do. People give what they have, and every person has its ways of doing things, its capacities, its conditioning, its way of seeing things. We always said that Beirut Pride is built on a momentum. Beirut Pride is built on all the work that has been done before. The work of LGBT groups, LGBT NGOs, but also the work of individuals. A lot of people put themselves at risk because they wanted to voice themselves, voice their opinions, express who they are. And I promise you that even if most of these people still don't see it, these people are heroes. It is something for you to be operating from within an institution, and it's something totally different for you to be operating as an individual. And promise me, and this is something I can, and trust me, and this is something I can say now after experience, that when anything goes wrong, you are left by yourself. Not because people are mean or there is a conspiracy against you, but because no security protocol has ever been defined. This is why people freak out, and the work is selectivism. Petitions that we sign online, statuses that we publish, a hashtag that we force for it to go viral. But on the ground, you are literally by yourself. Institutions are quite delicate because a lot of things are at stake and they have to do a lot of math. They need to work with their donors, they have specific things that they need to make happen. There is a certain status they want to keep, a certain visibility they would love to maintain. So sometimes competition is not healthy and hinders the evolution of anything. A lot of political parties spoke LGBT. Some of them openly in their programs, some of them in their political rallies, and some of them said that they would go with the flow if other parties would be doing it. Again, being conscious of the socio-political dynamics in Lebanon allows you to understand what these political parties are trying to express. LGBT individuals are everywhere, in all socio-cultural levels, in all religious groups, in all professional fields, and initiatives like Pride make people come out. When people come out, things will change. But for people to come out, you need to make sure that they are not going to be harassed, they are not going to be attacked, there will be no persecution, and people are not going to fire them from their jobs. Therefore, initiatives like the Corporate Pledge, therefore, all the work we are doing on ground, therefore, the work with religious authorities, because again, our political system is based on religious repartition. When you work with religions, you are also working politics. Beirut Pride 2017 was quite intense. It took place in May. However, as of March 2017, we started approaching LGBT NGOs.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm meant to have a meeting at 4:30 in Jamaica, so I'm just going to call and let them know I'm not going to be there.
Okay. Now we're talking about Beirut Pride 2017. We will talk later on about Beirut Pride 2018, and then if you have specific questions, we do it. Are we good so far?
It's really good. I think we've been recording for 50 minutes already.
Yeah. You will be cutting from the podcast.
Of course. But I think
there are like 2-3 ideas that I repeated twice.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but like just keeping it a little concise.
Yes. Because it's a lot of people and a lot of press, and I can issue a statement for you to know what's happening. But the reflection behind Pride is very important.
No, I completely agree. I'm amazed that you can talk for that long without a script. It's impressive. Sorry, there's no Wi-Fi.
Hey, take your time. I will enjoy chocolates because I need sugar.
good friend who has the same talent as you.
Which talent?
Not very many people can talk for an hour without an interview question.
You know, I come from theatre background.
Well, that shows, yeah, the way you talk.
And I was very well... Oops, attention, my God. Watch out.
I'm good, sorry, you're alright.
I'm happy that was empty and you didn't fall on it. But you have your bottle of water, just have it.
Thank you, that's sweet.
This is safer. I had the chance of being mentored by a very exceptional theatre maker. And I had an education about how to moderate a talk, how to be a presenter, and so on. So, yeah. My investigation was quite funny because at a certain moment I was the one asking questions.
Yeah, you're just like him. So my friend, he is an interesting character. He used to be in Hizb ut-Tahrir.
Hizb ut-Tahrir, yeah.
And then he was imprisoned. He tried to overthrow Mubarak, and then he was imprisoned, and now he works in counter-terrorism. He's a very interesting character, but he has the same way of talking that you do. Like, it's extraordinary. I've seen him with the media, and it's just like, wow, he just doesn't stop.
But I'm sure that he told you that does not happen with everyone.
Well, no, he's like that. Like, unless he's drunk, he's like that all the time.
No, I mean, he wouldn't be having this load of words to share with anyone. If, you know...
Oh, I see, yeah.
If I were not relaxed with you, it would be very...
Oh, I see. No, I think he quite likes it when people don't like him. He just goes here because it gives him a chance to go for them. There's a difference, yeah. Well, I'm glad you feel comfortable. That's good.
Yeah. And you know, the aim is to speak about reflection behind Beirut Pride, way more about what Beirut Pride is doing and Beirut Pride activities and so on. Mm-hmm. What I am bringing is a vision, is a way forward, and that's it. I can get other people to work on the program.
I want that recorded.
So, in March 2017, a few months before Beirut Pride was supposed to start, we efficiently started reaching out to people for them to bring projects on board. Also reaching out to NGOs and to LGBT groups. But I still had a major concern. What are we to be proud of? I remember I was at this NGO, we were on the balcony and I was talking to this guy. I told him, I want to do Beirut Pride, but what are we to be proud of? And this is when he told me, he said, hey, why do you say so? There are a lot of things that we are to be proud of because we are, we move forward on many files and we had some rulings of judges and so on. Yeah, he had a point. Funny enough, that same guy, a few weeks later, in one of the interviews he gave about Pride, he was critical of Pride, saying that I don't understand what we are to have, what we have to be, what we are to be proud of. So it was literally a renversement de situation, like a change, a flip-flop in the situation. At the beginning, NGOs were not very happy about Beirut Pride because they didn't understand why it's taking place, who was I, why I would be the one steering this platform. And everybody knew that that would be very big. So, and many of them were not even sure that this would happen. And then it happened, and it properly happened. It drew more than 4,000 people, attending about 31 events during 8 days, around the 17th of May, 2017. When you are working on any initiative that reaches out to people, particularly addressing identity and who you are, things are very different, because this platform is dynamic. You need to be very consistent. You need to stand still, to be very strong, properly rooted. Keep a very cool head. Never react with a heated head, with heated thoughts. Always think. And this is the biggest challenge, because people around you, not all of them, want to think. A lot of people would say that I am an elitist person. What does that mean? A lot of people even said that I was a privileged person. Again, what does this mean? Yes, I did not have to wash dishes to pay tuition. I was not forced into having a job for me to attend school or college. But I work. And I work a lot. I'm the kind of people who can work 19 hours non-stop. During LGBT political lobbying before elections, during 3 months, I was working non-stop. From Monday to Sunday. And I am the kind of people who would be calling for a meeting at midnight. Yeah, I have stamina. Some people say that I do never work. I'm somebody who jumps from project to another. Well, I'll take it as a compliment. I really do not feel like I'm working, because I'm very passionate with what I'm doing, by what I'm doing. And you know, in Beirut Pride, there is no paycheck, there is no salary. So there was no frustration about how much money you make, and if you're making half of the money that you used to be making before, therefore you have to work half the amount of time or something like this. It's not math. The work is generous. People on board give and give and give because we believe, because we trust, because we have faith, because we know that we know what we are doing. And this is very important. People would support you the first time. They would support you a little less the second time. At a certain moment, why would they keep on supporting you if they are not getting anything in return? Getting things in return is not necessarily getting money in return or business in return. It also means that you are getting satisfaction, that you are happy to be part of something that is making matters move forward. Initiatives like Beirut Pride are very important because they are initiatives that build a society and therefore build a country. Beirut Pride is not only for LGBTIQ+ individuals. As a matter of fact, we never ask who is gay and who is bi and who is a lesbian and who is trans. We don't ask people who are organizing events about their sexual preference. We do not ask people who are attending about their gender identity. It's open. In 2017, we had people who came with their kids just to show them what this event is about. I remember after May 2017, a lady whom I haven't spoken to for a few years touched base with me asking for something that would be bringing more and more straight people to Beirut Pride for them to show support. Showing support to whom? Not to Beirut Pride. Beirut Pride is not a tangible person. It's not a person, it's not a physical person. Coming to Beirut Pride, supporting, means that they are taking a stance against hate and discrimination against LGBTIQ plus individuals. It's not a political rally. We're not here to yell, shout, scream. It's not a sexualized platform. And here, a lot of people relate to it because it's quite a big melting pot of activities, of initiatives, of projects, of happenings. And you might have things for the taste of a lot of people. Our aim is to be inclusive, but it's not up to us to say if we are inclusive or not. This is what people are to decide, whether we are inclusive or not. We utterly believe that there is nothing that could ever be inclusive, because there would always be people who would feel excluded because their interest is not covered, or because the place is a little bit too far, or the date is not suitable for them, and so on. When you're working on any event, and this is what we teach, your event is to be related to the venue or to the location it is taking place in. There is something called site specificity. You need to be specific to where you are. You need to be conscious and aware of the local economy. You need to know what you want to say and what you do not want to say, because it is not enough to only know what you want to say. It's very important that you know who are the people who might be interested in your happening, and it's very important to know who are the people who will not be interested in what you are presenting. We don't use the word public or audience in Beirut Pride, because Beirut Pride is not a platform for people to just attend and party and have fun and network and so on. Beirut Pride is made by the people who attend, who are present, who show up. Yes, I initiated Beirut Pride. Yes, in the first edition we had more than 80 people working on Beirut Pride. But the aim is for Beirut Pride to grow, so it become established, and therefore people who are running Beirut Pride have a scope of work of 4 points. The first point is to define the dates of Beirut Pride a year ahead. The second point is for them to define the theme of Beirut Pride a year ahead. The third point is for them to organize the opening event of Beirut Pride. The fourth point is for them to organize the closing event of Beirut Pride, be it a march, a parade, or any other happening. When we launched Beirut Pride in 2017, the biggest and the mass replies we received were from people who were saying, "Oh, you made it," or "Oh, what a courage." I was going through all these commands and all these answers. Until now, I still do not understand where is the courage in this. Maybe because I live in my world. But I believe that when you know what you want to say, when you have defined the means to express what you want to say, and when you know how to make things happen, when you are a maker, things become easier. It's quite a hassle sometimes coordinating and bringing Beirut Pride activities together, because people, do not respect deadlines, and some people have to have a last-minute trip, and so on. But at the end of the day, there is no massive challenge. It's accessible, and initiatives like Pride are important because they make other people want to emulate them, to copy them. People understand that it is not enough to have a one-day event. You need to be reaching out to people on a wider time scale. People are seeing now the initiatives, the year-long or the continuous initiatives and projects that Beirut Pride is running, and therefore it becomes clear and clearer for many people that to reach out and to make a change, we need to be continuously working, not only throwing an event one day, another day, and so on. I don't say that other groups have not been doing this or been working on projects, on long-term projects. I don't say that NGO groups and NGOs have not been working on long-term projects. I just say that we have broadened quite a lot and massively the communication around the LGBT file in Lebanon. We are people of communication and marketing. We know how to speak. We know how to get things done. We know how to bring things together. Our channels of communication are always open. We don't particularly take things personal. We acknowledge that people give what they have. We don't expect. It's a personal evolution also. I'm 29 today. When we started Beirut, when the first edition of Beirut Pride took place, I was 28. When I started drafting Beirut Pride, I was 27. Should I have started working on Beirut Pride when I was 26 or 25, the outcome would have been totally different, because it has to do a lot with your personal evolution, with your emotions, with your emotional development, and so on. You need to keep a head that is very cool. You need to create distance. You need to put limits to yourself. You need to trust people. You need to expect disappointment. And everything could be contained when you really, really, really understand that people give what they have. They can't give more. Not everybody wants to be operating a platform without getting a paycheck, and it's their right. How is Beirut Pride surviving so far? Well, people donate services to Beirut Pride. We do not take funds, so we do not take cash. We take services, graphic design services, people who are offering their venues, and so on. I work a lot. Part of the money I make goes into Beirut Pride, or went into Beirut Pride 2017 and 2018. As of June 2018, Beirut Pride is being institutionalized because it will facilitate matters, and because it's very important that I be not continuously reduced to being the guy of Beirut Pride. Yes, I am under a lot of scrutiny, because, if I would like to post a statement about anything on my personal page, some people would take it and say, oh yeah, the guy of Beirut Pride says this, does this, and so on. This is why my social media were very slow and very dormant from May 2017 until May 2018. It's important that I be not continuously the face of Beirut Pride and the person operating Beirut Pride, so things do not become personal. I don't want people to say, oh yeah, this person is on board of Beirut Pride because he's a friend of Hadi. Or I can't be on Beirut Pride because I hate Hadi, I don't want to speak to Hadi. And therefore there is no other way for me to get in. Plus, you cannot do politics alone. We saw it in these elections. Some political parties wanted to do cavalier seul, which means they wanted to be performing politics by themselves with no alliances. And they lost. Fabulously lost. So, when you're working by yourself, you go faster, for sure. For the first 2 formative years of Beirut Pride, being a very small and very reduced team was very positive. It allowed us to move, fly, go. But if you want to go longer, without having a burnout, without having speculation from people, toxic speculation, I mean, you need to widen the people around you. And to do this properly, you need to offer them basic amenities, such as a table to work, a proper environment, and things like this. Therefore, institutionalizing Beirut Pride. Plus also, a few partners we really want to work with, namely from the public sector, cannot just work with a label. They need to work with an entity. Therefore, the institutionalization of Beirut Pride. But the structure is not going to be called Beirut Pride. It will be an organism that runs the administrative matters of Beirut Pride, its projects and initiatives. Every initiative would be having a steering committee and our political positioning is very clear. We will constantly keep our channels of communication open. We will be working with any person of goodwill who wants things to move forward and who wants to assist and who wants to help. We are very clear about what Beirut Pride is. We are very clear about in our statements, and we produce a lot of statements, I suppose. So, and our statements are at least bilingual, English and Arabic, very often in French, and probably in additional languages for a few of them in the very near future. And it is not that when we work with religious people, with political entities and with security organisms, that we are selling anything to them. Before organizing Pride, most of us are individuals who identify as LGBTIQ+ people, who are very much concerned with what's happening before the inception of Pride itself. This is why the aim now is to push ourselves in the shadow for Beirut Pride to fly higher. Because as we speak, and as I clearly say to my postgraduates, to my graduate students, I always say that when you're doing an event, you need to decide what goes first. Is it the event itself? Or you, your ego, your pictures, and your presence in the event? After May 2017, I was approached by a lot of media outlets. 2 of them wanted to send a photographer to Lebanon for the cover of the magazine. They wanted me to be on the cover, and another magazine wanted 5 people, whom I'm among them, to be on the cover of the magazine. Yeah, that might have been fun, but no, that would not have been elegant. It's not a cult of personality. It's definitely not a cult of personality. And we're not here to build our glory on the LGBT file at all. We've been doing similar jobs for quite a time. We have fantastic projects coming up. We want to work on them. We're in 2018. This LGBT file should have been handled years and years ago. Today, in 2018, I want to reflect on things that are way more relevant to me. I want to think about artificial intelligence, about mixed realities, about virtual reality, about augmented reality. I want to think if a robot is to feel pain or not. You know, before people spoke about civil marriage. Then they spoke about marriage between two men or two women. Later on, our biggest reflection would be, is it okay for a biological human to marry a robot? This is where we're heading to. And this is where we are to put our intellect. We are in a world where resources are limited. We are in a world where unrest is everywhere. We are in a world where we're having a lot of upcoming movements, unrest, turbulences. We cannot only be at the receiving end of things. We cannot only be counter-reacting. We cannot only be the people who are shaken by happenings. We have the capacity to initiate things. Yes, it did help Pride in Beirut that I were the one initiating it and coordinating it. I'm a very sharp person with a lot of empathy. I know what I want. My word is strict and consistent, and this is very important. I'm not here for people to love me or not to love me. I'm not here to sleep and hook up with people left and right. I'm here because I'm at a turning point. I utterly believe that I can make change. I will be making change. People trust, have faith, they are present to be part of this change. After May 2017, and building on the tremendous success of Beirut Pride 2017, we initiated new platforms. One of them being the platform around World AIDS Day on December 1st. We thought about the corporate pledge, about a research program related to families, kids, and parents, about understanding how parents receive the coming out of their kids, why they are throwing out from the house, how they are working with them, understanding the challenges of an LGBT individual in Beirut 2018, understanding the concern of the parents. And this is a work that is done by psychologists and professionals in the field. We are also working on a national 2-year anti-bullying platform run by a group of NGOs in Lebanon, operating on 4 scales, one of them being for children, which means schools, another one, the second one being for teenagers, which means schools and colleges, the third one pertaining to adults, and the first one pertaining to the business world, where we will be talking about sexual harassment and so on. It's not only for LGBT individuals, because bullying is quite a horizontal approach, and people are bullied because they are thin, tall, fat, blonde, brune, gay, masculine, too feminine, etc. You know. So, yeah, Beirut Pride 2018 was built on this. New projects.
Can I before we go into 2018, we're planning on launching the podcast during Design Week now. So just so you've got some context, it'll be released in about a month's time. So it might be so the fuss over everything. So all the drama over everything will have cooled off for a little bit. But I thought I should give you that context before we start talking about this year.
Hey, but this is a big recording for you also. You can exploit it later on.
This is an enormous recording.
You do whatever you want to do with it, honestly. Okay. I'm literally opening up on all levels for you, so you do whatever you want to do. We're facing the camera now. On this, Beirut Pride 2018 was built, and it was very important for us to... No, sorry. All this constituted the basis for the programming of Beirut Pride 2018. The first day, Saturday, May 12th, 2018, we celebrated parents who properly received the coming out of their kids, parents who did not kick their children out of the house. 1 second. I need to charge this because my...
go ahead.
1 second. I hope this will reach. Please make it happen.
You can move it back a little bit and move everything up.
No, I will not change it.
If I were you, I'd get someone to transcribe all of this because you've got so much content that can be reworked into different media platforms.
This is why we're recording it. This is why it's recorded.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I also assumed it might be for backup.
Also,
yeah.
Both are
Which is fair.
Yeah. And later on you can even explore this whole video. I'll give you a copy.
You know what? Like, I don't want to be seen in public like this.
Well, you'll keep it for yourself. You'll keep it for your souvenir, actually.
But like, I've got to consider quite carefully how I'm going to use this material because there's a lot of it.
You decide. You have quite a lot of things.
More than we need for the episode. More than we need for one episode.
Oh, obviously, of course. But you have it all now. So you're writing history. You're good at this.
Well, actually, in that respect, I mean, like, yeah, definitely. If you need, I'll keep the entire audio file. So if you have anybody that wants to listen to the entire thing, I might make the whole thing available online as well. Actually, like have a podcast episode and then have the entire thing available for people who want it.
And then in comments we can put when you go to this minute second to hear us speak about this. Here, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it would be, there's going to be researchers that are going to need to know a lot of this information. So I'm trying to make everything a resource.
See. Produced by Stacey.
Yeah. I'll show you the website, actually.
All this constituted the frame from which the program of 2018 emerged. On Saturday, May 12th, 2018, we celebrated families and parents who did not reject their kids because they came out. Parents who properly received the coming out of their kids, or who at least processed it in a way to keep the family an inclusive space and to keep family first, no matter what. That evening, we had the opening party of Beirut Pride that drained hundreds and hundreds of people for a massive opening party with Khansa, with Al-Sara and the Nubatones, with a DJ set by Richard Ahwaji. And then, the next day, on Sunday, May 13th, we had a brunch at Haven for Artists with people playing music, singing. We had a talk about transgender individuals, the reality of being a transgender person in Lebanon. We also had another talk about femininity and masculinity with Ab'ad, the NGO, at the Migrant Community Center. And then, in the evening, we had a massive drag show that took place. It was quite intense. Some people asked, why are you doing something with the Migrant Community Center? Are you not digressing? The answer is no. Who are the people we want to reach out to? Are they Lebanese people? Are they people living in Lebanon? People living in Beirut? Who are they? Of course, we have people, Lebanese people coming from other countries to attend Beirut Pride. We are welcoming of everyone, but at the end of the day, an initiative like Beirut Pride is intended and addressed, firstly, to the residents of Beirut. You are affected by the place where you live. And the reality of a gay man living in Beirut, independently of his nationality, is different from the reality of a Lebanese man living in another city like Amsterdam, Montreal, or Paris, or whatever.
Can we pause for a sec till
Yeah, we'll repeat this. Have chocolate.
Oh, I'm worried about making noise.
Okay, we still don't have much. People asked, are you not digressing when you are doing an event at the Migrant Community Center? We said no, because when you are organizing a platform, like Beirut Pride in particular, you need to reflect on whom you are addressing yourself to. Is it for Lebanese people in general? Is it for Lebanese people living in Lebanon? Is it for Lebanese people living in Beirut? Is it for people living in Beirut, in the capital? Sorry. A few people asked if we were digressing. No. A few people asked if we were not digressing when we were having an event take place at the Migrant Community Center. And we said that no, we were not. Because when you are organizing a platform in general, and in specific, a platform like Beirut Pride, you are to think about whom you are addressing this platform to. Is it for Lebanese individuals in general? Is it for Lebanese individuals living in Lebanon? For Lebanese citizens living in Beirut? Is it for any other person residing in Beirut? Our answer from the beginning was very clear. We are, above everything and anything, connecting with residents of Beirut, no matter where they are from. Because a gay man, for example, who lives in Beirut, lives in a different reality than a gay man living in another city, Montreal, Paris, London, independently of their nationality. Here we're talking about social scrutiny, we're talking about social dynamics, we're talking about spaces that are offered, and so on. And it was very important that we speak about femininity and masculinity, because masculinity and femininity are the first level of perception when it comes to what is to be gay, and how does a gay man act, or how would a gay man look like. So this theme, masculinity and femininity, is paramount. The third day of Beirut Pride 2018, the third day over 9 days, was quite a fruitful day, quite an eventful day. It was Monday, May 14th. During the day we had political meetings, quite promising political meetings about LGBT in general. Then about 6 p.m. we announced in Batshig the corporate pledge, this project of Beirut Pride that seeks to reach out to companies, business owners, and professional platforms to address hate and discrimination against LGBT employees, staff, and clients. Afterwards, our schedule would take us to Zukok Theatre House, where we would be having a reading of a theatre play called Ogre in French, that we translated into Arabic, into spoken Lebanese, that was going to be read, followed by a conversation, a discussion, and then followed by a party. It was a very important evening, and the play is a compilation of stories that speak about homophobic aggressions, crimes, and it was a statement, a very important one. Doors of this evening were supposed to open at 8 p.m. for the reading to start sometime between 8:30 and 9 p.m. 10 past 8, I receive a call from a lady who works at Zukok, saying that something terrible is happening because officials or officers from the general security came to the venue saying that there would be no way for this reading to take place. I asked her to let me speak to them over the phone. They say that they are people from the censorship unit, from the general security, and that the reading cannot take place because Zukok did not reach out to a censorship approval for the text. I tell the guy that usually for a reading we never require a prior censorship approval. And then when it was clear that the conversation will not be over the phone, I told him that I was on my way and that we will discuss things face to face. He said that he would be waiting for me. We have quite a few lawyers on board for Beirut Pride. Call them, and the first lawyer who picks up the phone is Layal Saur, a very sweet, articulate, and solid lawyer. I tell her that this is happening, and then if she would be available to accompanying me, she concurs. I pick her up, and we go to Zukok Theatre Company. On our way, the phone rings. It was another gentleman from Zukok telling me that many officers have arrived to the venue, all of them asking for me. He said that there were about 5 security units present in Zukok. People from the general security, people from the intelligence unit, from the security of the state, from the vice squad, and from the censorship department. We arrived to Zukok. Quite a lot of people had left, terrified at what might happen, any possible escalation, any possible things that might go out of hand, so they might be subjected to arbitrary mass detentions. And this used to happen before. We can't blame people for wanting to protect themselves and to leave. We go to this room with about 12 officials or officers in civil, so they were not wearing their uniforms. And first thing, we were trying to understand what's happening with this reading of the play. The gentleman of Zukok asks the officer from the censorship unit that he reminds him that a couple of weeks ago they had visited them, asking them if a censorship approval would be needed for the reading, and the gentleman from the censorship had said no, because it's a reading, no tickets are being sold, and the public is a niche public. And then I ask him, like, since it's a no, then what changed? And the officer says, laws have changed. We know that nothing changed. And this is when we understood that it was something different. Then they started asking questions about Beirut Pride. Why Beirut Pride is happening, why it's taking place, what is its program, what it is about, and so on. Directly referred them to the website. Everything is present in 3 languages, especially the presentation and the positioning of Beirut Pride that is available in French, Arabic, and English. And then we asked them, we said that, okay, should the reading not be taking place? Can we still have the discussion and the party people are outside in the other room waiting for us? He said yes, but no reading. Here some people wanted to take the reading to a private place, and there was a discussion about it, if it can take place, happen, blah, blah, blah. And the phone was ringing quite a lot. I got a gentleman from the Vice Squad asking for a meeting with me the next day, on Tuesday, May 15th, at 11 a.m. at the Vice Squad place in the police station of Habish. Very well. It's his right to ask questions, and it's very normal to answer. So there was no offense taken, from my side at least. I had just hung up with him that I received other phone calls from other officers from the Vice Squad asking me to come to their station the next day. I'm like, okay, it's already sorted. We spoke to the gentleman who operates there and he's expecting me. So there was this confusion, and here having all these people calling you. It's like there's something pushing everybody to do something about it. About pride, obviously. Because here we were not anymore into the performance and the play. Actually, it was not a play, it was a text that you were reading. Less than 30 minutes later, after most gentlemen had left from the security offices, 2 officers enter the room, storm in the room, ask who was Hadi. So I say, it's me. They said, you have to come with us immediately to the police station. Okay. With the lawyer, we went to the car, making sure to tell all those who are still present in Zukok that it's okay, it's pride, keep on your smile. Why is your face so black? Why are you so embarrassed? Just be relaxed. All is well, and things will continue. Because at the end of the day, we still know what you are doing. And we know that there is nothing that we did incorrectly for anything to happen against us. On the way to the police station, the gentleman said that there is nothing to be worried about, it's just a few questions that you want to ask, and then we'll bring you back to the theater venue to continue your event. We get to the police station, and there I understand that I were to stay the night. And I stayed the night in the detention cell with 39 other detainees, knowing that the cell we stayed in was a cell made to fit 5 people. So we were 39 in a cell for 5 people. We know that conditions of detention are not optimal in Lebanon. They are very far from being acceptable, actually. I was the only one to be arrested within Beirut Pride. They took my phone. They took my phone, they asked me to shut my phone down, pull it in the locker, remove my bracelet, remove my belt, and I was put in the cell. Funny enough, everything was removed. My shoes stayed outside, obviously. And I was left with this Beirut Pride bracelet, 2018. At a certain moment, I was leaning against the wall and I was playing with this bracelet, quite amused that symbolically it feels like I was locked in with Beirut Pride. When I went in, it should have been about 11 p.m. And detainees started talking to me, asking what I had done, why I was here, etc. At a certain moment, I asked them to give me some space because I needed to collect my ideas. I started collecting my thoughts, my ideas. I suddenly remembered my theater breathing techniques. So I was properly breathing, trying to contain all the anxiety and all the stress around this. I was thinking how to keep all the activities of Beirut Pride ongoing, the activities that were scheduled until May 20, 2018. I was also very much concerned with how to contain the disappointment of people, especially the young people, but also people who are in their 70s, 60s, who are looking at Beirut Pride from far and observing it and following it. I was also stressed because I wanted to know what attitude I shall adopt, I was also quite thinking of what attitude I shall adopt during interrogation, because officially I was told that I was in this detention room awaiting my interrogation. So in my mind, interrogation was supposed to happen at any time that night. Quite a gloomy prospect, saying that your interrogation is going to take place in the middle of the night, in probably what is the most infamous police station of Beirut, where you have a lot of reports and accounts of human rights violations and intense interrogation methods and techniques. I was even wondering if I am to be physically pushed or violented. Am I to be stiff? Is my body to be soft and malleable so I cause less damage to myself? how am I to answer the questions? If they ask me if I am gay, shall I say it's a personal question, and then, or am I to say yes, I am gay? Am I to say no, I'm not gay, so I have less damage? So it was quite a lot, because you hear a lot of accounts, you hear a lot of stories. Lawyers have different positions when it comes to answering these questions. I knew I was not arrested because I'm Hadi. I knew I was arrested because of the symbolism of it. That to the people who arrest me, they are arresting the head of Beirut Pride. So it was not only me getting out of trouble on a physical and personal level. And from the beginning, I was aware of these things. From the first day we initiated Beirut Pride, we were aware that we can go through things like this. What happened is the interrogation will not take place before 11 a.m. of the next day, Tuesday, May 15th. Then, at 11 a.m., I'm brought into the office of the gentleman who's in charge of the vice squad. I start by introducing myself. I tell him what I do. I ask him who he was. He introduces himself. And then he tells me that he had a problem with the program of Beirut Pride. He said the program of Beirut Pride is available on the website, beirutpride.org. There's nothing about it. He said, I have it on my phone. I replied, why would you have a screenshot when you can access it directly? He says, no, I have it as a text. I'm like, impossible, because it's not available as a text. He said, I have it in Arabic text on my WhatsApp. I'm like, yes, this is a fabricated program. He says, how can you say this? You haven't seen it. I'm like, because we never released it in Arabic. And when you say you have a problem with this program, this means that there's something wrong with this program. I know myself, I know people around me, and I know very well how we present things. Can I see this program? He shows it to me. First thing I tell him, this is not Beirut Pride program, because A, we will not be using this kind of emoticons. Emojis, because there were some emojis in the program. And then I'm like, when Beirut Pride is presenting its program, we will never use words in Arabic like faggots and dykes and perverts. So again, it's not our program. I look at the program, I read it. What the people who shared it on WhatsApp did, they simply went on the website of Beirut Pride or on the social media of Beirut Pride, selected some of the events that were taking place, translated their title into Arabic, added some sensational words, such as, this is an event where there will be striptease and there will be encouraging of debauchery, immorality, blah, blah, blah. And they even mixed locations and dates. So all what I had to do was to ask him to open his laptop or his phone, go on the website of Beirut Pride, and compare the event as we are putting it with what he has on WhatsApp. It became clear to him and to all the people in the room that this was indeed a fabricated program. The gentleman asked an officer to write down my declaration for me to read it and to sign it so they could call the general prosecutor of Beirut to see what they would be doing. After the declaration was written, after I read it, after I signed it, they called the general prosecutor of Beirut, who is a judge, who said that despite this program being a fabricated program, there was a lot of noise and drama around this thing. So these activities are not to take place. As for Hadi, he has two options. If he wants to get out of jail, he is to provide us with a declaration of residence. So, if we are to prosecute him, we can inform him on this address and make him sign a paper, a pledge, in which he says that he is aware of my decision that the events are suspended and that he will not be changing the name of the event or switching locations of the events for the event to be taking place. Should he not proceed like this, then we will be officially arresting him, sending him to the investigative judge for him to do the necessary. He will be, according to this Arabic translation of the program, charged for organizing or coordinating events that are a perturbation for general order, that are inciting to debauchery and immorality. At the beginning, I didn't want to sign anything. I'm like, I'm no criminal. We didn't do anything wrong. That's it. The advice of the lawyer was totally different, and it was very clear. You can do much more when you are outside of jail. This is the decision of the judge. You can't do anything about it. This is his decision. He is the general prosecutor. If you want anything to be retrieved or anything to be properly worked, you need to do it. For you to be able to do it, you cannot be locked in. So yes, I gave them a declaration of my residence. I signed the paper that says that I am informed of the decision of the general prosecutor. And I left the police station about 3 p.m. on Tuesday, May 15, 2018. Less than an hour later, I was home. I had already showered. I was working on the declaration of Beirut Pride, explaining on its state. Less than an hour later, I was already home, showered, working on the statement of Beirut Pride, explaining what had happened. I then visited the lawyer. We had a couple of meetings afterwards with people from Beirut Pride, and we had to deal with the massive interest and media coverage that followed. On the short term, the suspension of the activities of Beirut Pride is not amusing. Some people lost money. Disappointment was very big. There was a lot of confusion, as some people thought that I cancelled the events of Beirut Pride for me to get out of jail. Some people even said that the whole thing started because Zukok did not get a censorship approval of the reading, and that we knew about it and yet we didn't properly contain it, which is incorrect, obviously. And we were quite impressed with the massive support and positive messages that we received, that we are still receiving. And you realize that when you have so many people who believe in what you are doing, you are not allowed to be weak, and you are not allowed to disappoint them, and you are not allowed to only focus on the negative things while you are dismissing these positive, marvelous comments and support. On the medium and long term, things are fabulous. everything is doing very well. Now, for those who never understood why Beirut Pride was political, I believe now they did. So, this happening even brought people closer to our convictions. Furthermore, this incident gave us a tremendous attention, both on local media and international media. And we know for a fact that Beirut Pride going to jail and getting out of jail is very much different from Beirut Pride before Monday, May 14th, 2018. It doesn't mean that we are bitter. It doesn't mean it is the end of the world. It doesn't mean Beirut Pride is suspended. Beirut Pride is safe. Beirut Pride is flourishing. Its initiatives continue. Its projects are even better, bigger, more developed. Now, more people want to be on board. More people want to assist. And we're doing fabulously well. Very, very well. With and without Beirut Pride, things are moving forward. With and without Beirut Pride, the LGBT file is moving forward in a brilliant way. Beirut Pride is to act as a catalyst for things to move forward in the right direction in a fast and efficient way. Things move forward because it is called evolution. Evolution of mentalities, evolution of approaches. We benefit today from two important revolutions that took place. The transport revolution that allows us to go to any country in a few hours, and the revolution of communication, where you have access to all what's happening all over the world, where you have access to massive studies and text and information. If you don't like to read, no problem. You can watch a video telling you this. If you don't have time and you don't want to watch a video, you can hear a podcast. And you are getting information. In 2018, ignorance is a choice. In 2018, it's very easy for us to move forward. In 2018, it is challenging to have convictions and to be on a clear path. Set a strategy, have a vision, have a way to get things done, and yes, you will be moving forward. You are not to be led by mediocre people. You are to reflect. You are to know how to be sharp. You are to be having empathy. You are to keep your channels of communication open. You are to trust people. You are to believe in yourself. You are to have faith in the people around you. And this is how you build a society. This is how you build a country. And this is how you build a world and you make it a better place for everyone to be in it. Thank you very much.
Drop the mic. The one thing you never did was introduce yourself.
Yes, and I have something else also. Now I remember.
Let's have a quick break. I have an idea for the edit. I think I'm going to do one edit that's about Pride and what you do and how you do it and why you do it, and one episode that's about the arrest. Like, let's separate them out.
You do whatever you want to do. I am your slave. I have nothing to say.
To me, it makes more sense because people that want to know about your story on the arrest will go straight to what they want. People that want to understand Pride and what you're doing and why you're doing it will need...
You do you. People ask about rights, and they say we are fighting for our rights. What does right mean? What does having a right means? What is a right? What makes something become a right? We reflected on this. And today, we believe that my right, or when I ask for a right, is when I am striving to having the space and the condition that I need for me to be a fully operating version of myself. I need to have the structure, I need to have the space, I need to have the environment, I need to have the conditions that allow me to flourish, to develop myself, to give 100% of what I can without being hindered, without having my production and contribution hindered and jeopardized. I believe this is, or at least this is, our definition of what rights are. My name is Hadi Damien. I'm 29 years old today in May 2018, on the 25th of May 2018. And among many things I do, I am the initiator of Beirut Pride.
Thank you so much. So it's your birthday today?
No.
No.
No, my birthday is on February 2nd.
Oh my god, we're practically the same age.
When
February the 8th.
Huh?
February the 8th.
Aquarius, love this, amazing.
You beat me, just.